What's good, nerds? Joe, aka the Butterfreek, here at Pokemoshpitbeta for my second ever upload. I know it's been a really long time, but I'm really excited to bring you guys another battle and give it another shot. First off, before we get started, I'd like to take some time to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch my video. It really means a lot, and I really appreciate the support. It's what makes this fun, and I hope that you guys enjoy this. I'd also like to apologize in advance for, Black and White 2 OU. I know there's an abundance of this, but I hadn't battled in about 5 months. I was really looking forward to trying out the new ROM, and this is kind of just what happened because we wanted to try the new forms. Anyway, getting into this, there's a couple things that I'd like to highlight. The new Landorus and new Thundurus forms, I definitely got to keep my eyes on those if I'm going to have a chance at succeeding in this match. They've got 145 base attack stats. They're insane. Gonna have to play around those. I also have my eye on Celebi as a potential offensive and defensive threat, as I have no real way of breaking it down and no super good switch in to it. So I actually really only have a U-turn from Birdnatus and from Gliscor. I have Hurricane, but it's going to be in sand, so that's not really going to be reliable at all in terms of trying to take out that Celebi. So I got to make sure that I play around those two giant offensive threats and somehow get through that Celebi, and I think I'll have an easier time in this match. Anyway, getting into it, I'm going to be leading off with my Tyranitar. He's going to be leading off with the new Thundurus form, and right away these new forms are already putting pressure on me. I know that it's got 145 base special attack, and I know that they rock the Focus Blast, so that's not really a good spot for me. I do have the Chople Berry, so I figured I could take this time to get Stealth Rocks up. I realize he does have a spinner. Maybe it wasn't the best play at the start, but, whatever. Now, I still have my Chople Berry intact, and I really don't want to switch out on this thing. A, because I don't want it to be sitting behind a sub, and B, Tyranitar is actually my only real special wall. So I'm kind of forced to stay in here. I know that I can eat this Focus Blast well, and I really want to take out that sub, so I stay in, I go for the crunch, and things work out pretty much the way that all of us would have expected things to. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit tricky and the mind games kind of start to begin. See, he's going to predict that I'm going to switch out because my Chople Berry's spent. He's obviously going to be able to kill me with another Focus Blast, so I predict him to go for the sub. That's exactly what happens. He subs, I break it again with a crunch, and things are looking really good for me here. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, all right, he wants to preserve this Thundurus. It's a huge threat. He's probably going to switch out because if he goes for another sub and I break it, then he's pretty much useless. And if he misses the Focus Blast at any point, he's just going to faint. So I go for the pursuit. I take out his Thundurus, and that was a couple of really nice plays that really took the pressure off early. And I'm looking real pretty right now, sitting 6-5 lead, and my T-Tar is still pretty healthy. So he goes into his fortress. There's nothing that my Tyranitar can do to that. I don't have Fire Blast on it anymore, so I'm pretty much forced to switch out. I figured it was the perfect opportunity to bring in my Keldeo, and I really wanted to use this thing. I hadn't looked at any of the sets yet on Smogon or anywhere like that, so I actually decided to run a sub 3 attack set on my Keldeo. Now he's threatened to switch out, so I'm going to be going for the sub, and I actually carry HP Dark on this Keldeo. Now the reason why I do that is so I can hit things like Celebi, Latias, and Latios, and also because it's a lot harder for people to predict what the HP is when it's Dark. Who runs HP Dark? I figured with fighting from Sacred Sword and with Hidden Power Dark, I would have perfect coverage, and then I have the secondary stab of Hydro Pump to go for that when it's neutral and stab. I thought that it was the best choice. In retrospect, I don't know, maybe it wasn't, maybe HP Ice was better. Anyway, I get a crit here, that really sucks, but at the same time, like I said, Celebi was one of those things that I really wanted to take out early, so, I mean, it's a good thing for me, but everybody does hate hacks. It clearly would have been a 2-hit KO, not sure how differently the battle would have gone. He goes into his Gastrodon here, and I'm just going to stay in. I mean, I am behind a sub. I'm going to go for a Sacred Sword, and he's going to try to work down breaking down my sub. Now, the fact that he's going for a Scald instead of an Earth Power kind of reveals to me his entire set. He's probably rocking Scald, Recover, Ice Beam, and Toxic, which means the only thing that he really has to break my sub is Scald, because Ice Beam is also not very effective, and it's not Stab. So that really sucks for him. I'm going to go for a Sacred Sword here. I do get a crit, and, that's bad luck. That's 2 crits in a row for me, and I do feel bad about that. There's nothing I can do about it. Crits will happen. But at this point, here's what I wanted to do. I figured he would want to keep his Gastrodon for later, and I I don't know. I felt like he would have a chance to come in and recover or something like that. So I'm actually going to get kind of ballsy and I'm going to switch into my Breloom on the Scald, knowing that it doesn't do too much damage. I'm really hoping that he doesn't get the burn. Now, the reason why I did this is I figured Breloom immediately threatened it out, and I figured it gave him kind of more of an incentive to bring in that Landorus. I said Landorus was one of those things that I really wanted to get out of the way. It's a huge threat, and I figured even after the Intimidate boost, a low sweep and a second low sweep would do a lot of damage. I knew I'd be able to get the second low sweep off because of the speed drop from it, and I knew that even though the Intimidate would come in, I'd have the Choice Band to kind of equal that out, and we all know that Adamant Technician Breloom is absolutely insane. He stays in, sacks his Gastrodon, goes into his Landorus, so things work out kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't get to get that free damage on Landorus like I wanted to. Now, I assume this thing is Scarf because of looking at his team. I figured he needs a Revenge Killer there some way, and his Thundurus wasn't Scarfed, so I'm going to switch into my Rotom. Based off of the damage from that U-turn, I have no idea. I mean, I don't really know how much damage 145 base attack U-turn is supposed to do, although my Rotom is max defense, max HP. Now I realize that that's kind of an outdated set at this point and everyone likes to run the Trick Scarf, but I really enjoy bold max HP, max defense. You guys should all definitely give it a shot. Reason for it, it beats absolutely every variant of Scissor that you could possibly think of, period, case closed, including like a random specially defensive Lumberry Sword Stance Scissor. Even that you'll be able to take out because he does absolutely nothing to you. It's fantastic, and when Scissor's the #1 poke in OU, it's definitely nice to kind of have that surefire counter. Not to mention Rotom is just a solid poke in general with his dual stab and his general bulk. Anyway, he goes into his Fortress here, and I do kind of make a couple of series of misplays. Based off of his Hydro Pump, he was specially defensive, but I really shouldn't have bothered going for those Will-O-Wisps. I should have just kept going straight for the Hydro Pumps, as that's what would do the most damage to anything if it switched out, and to his Fortress. Anyway, I noticed that he's actually kind of having his way right now, and he's getting a bunch of entry hazards up, and he's getting away my entry hazards. Now that's not a good thing. If he gets too many entry hazards up, I'm going to be in a bad spot, because I have nothing to really take that Scarf Landorus, and if he has entry hazard support, there's nothing that's going to be stopping him from just sweeping through my team with Choice Scarfed Stone Edges. Anyway, I go for a Volt Switch. He actually brings in his Tyranitar on the Volt Switch, giving me the absolute perfect switch in. I go into my Breloom and I think, alright, good game, it's over. I'm going to go for a low sweep. If you switch, it's dead. If you stay in, it's dead. But he actually turns out to be a Scarf Tyranitar. And after the entry hazard damage, the crunch is going to easily be enough. And again, these entry hazards are going to come into play. I figured Keldio's relatively kind of bulky-ish, not super bulky, but I resist crunch, and I figured he might even want to switch out knowing that he's a Scarf set, so I stay in with my Keldeo, well I switched in my Keldeo, and I go for a sub, but because of the entry hazard damage, I'm actually going to die to the Sandstorm after the sub, and I have just completely squandered all of the momentum that I had going at this point. I go into my Life Orb Birdnatus, and he stays in, so maybe I should have gone for the superpower there, but I thought he was going to switch out knowing that I'd be faster. I guess he thought since he's Scarfed, he would be faster. So I go for a U-turn, and I go into my Gliscor because I know that he's Choice Scarf and he's going to be locked into Crunch. So that doesn't really turn out that badly. The U-turn does do a very good amount of damage, and the entry hazard Life Orb damage is completely negated by that awesome ability of Birdnatus. By the way, the new Therian forms or whatever, there's one thing that Game Freak got right, and they gave them some super manly facial hair. Those stashes are sweet. Anyway, I go into my Gliscor. I know he's going to want to switch because he's fearing that Earthquake, so I U-turn as he brings in his Fortress. Now at this point he's kind of at a checkmate position. He doesn't want to switch his Landorus in on it because even, any damage that I get on it is going to be a detriment to his sweep. So I know that he's probably going to stay in with his Fortress. I don't go for any predictions here. Go straight for the Heat Wave, burn that bug up real nice, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to win this at that point. My Birdnatus definitely does not outspeed a Choice Scarf Landorus, even though the new Landorus is slower. 90 base speed Choice Scarf is still faster than 121 base speed. So he brings in his Landorus on my Tornadus, kind of confirming that it's Scarf, and at this point, I'm not really sure where I want to go in order to win this. I switch into my Tyranitar, almost as death fodder for the most part. I kind of thought that I would be able to live a Stone Edge, or I don't know, I really did think I was going to be able to live a Stone Edge, but after the entry hazard damage, Absolutely not. So, Tyranitar used as a death fodder there, not a big deal, other than the fact that I really don't have much left. I have Gliscor, I do have Ice Fang, but after entry hazard damage, things are looking kind of grim here. So he goes for a Stone Edge, and see, I figured he was going to want to switch out at this point. I definitely was predicting a switch into T-Tar to reset his move to HP Ice so he could take out my Gliscor. I go for an Earthquake, and that ends up being the wrong play. And as you saw earlier, I'm rocking U-turn, so I do not have Protect to get myself into a safe HP area to take that second Stone Edge, and he takes out my Gliscor. And now all of a sudden, it's looking like I don't have this game in the bag at all. He goes for a Stone Edge of my Rotom, he misses, and that actually ends up being a pretty big play as I'm able to go for the Hydro Pump and take him out. He definitely had a chance to win the match there. If he killed my Rotom, the only thing I would have had left is my Birdnatus, and I still at this point thought that his Landorus was scarfed, but it turned out the whole game he was bluffing that Choice Scarf so hard it was actually Choice Banded. So even though he missed that Stone Edge, I still kind of would have had a chance with my Birdnatus. Either way, that's gonna be the match. He's going to take out my Rotom, and I'm going to come in with my Birdnatus and finish him off with a superpower. It was really, really fun. I thought there were some good plays on both sides. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I really, once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check this out. Please feel free to check out my channel. I'm going to be uploading more often for sure. I've already got a couple matches in the wings. If you have any criticism or anything like that, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. Like it if you like this video so that I know I'm doing it right still. Dislike it if you think that I went wrong somewhere. Please feel free. I take all of it as criticism. It's not trolling. I don't get offended. It's not a big deal. Anyway, hope you guys had fun. Peace.